Software vendor lock-in, what is it and how do you mitigate the risk that it presents? That's what I want to talk about today. My name is Marcus Harris. I'm a software and technology attorney. For the last 20 years, I've drafted and negotiated a variety of technology-related contracts and litigated failed ERP projects in courts across the country. What is vendor lock-in? And really, it is a scenario where you decide to put all of your eggs in one basket, essentially. And what you do is you contract with one software vendor for all of your technology needs, or one technology vendor, whether it's Oracle, SAP, Infor, whoever it is. You've decided not to use essentially, disparate systems, best of breed systems. So instead of having kind of a multi-cloud environment, you really are, very much an Oracle shop or an SAP shop. And I think there's value in that. I mean, everything's on the same platform. You've got one throat to choke, essentially. But the reverse side of that is that the vendor has one throat to choke as well, and it's yours, unfortunately. Where I think if you've got multiple vendors, you at least have some flexibility. And what you have flexibility with is upgrade schedules. You've got different products. You're not locked into any one particular product, and I think there can be a lot of value to that. The downside to that is really the time, effort, and expense that you have to expend managing all these disparate vendors and making sure that they're on the same page. And I think that goes beyond just the implementation project itself, getting them to cooperate with the implementation and integration of those various systems. It really is going to span the life cycle of your utilization of those various products. But again, there is an upside, and that upside is that you can cycle products out. You're not beholden to any one vendor. They're not going to, have you in this lock-in. And so, what is the risk? What happens when you're locked in or locked down by a vendor? And you've got essentially all of your data in a cloud system on a third-party site controlled by one entity. That's a lot of leverage that you've given up. You're going to be on their update and upgrade schedule. So these updates and upgrades are going to be pushed to you consistently across, the technology platform that is running your entire business. And it may not be a particularly good time for you to go through a major update or upgrade. This happened with Levi's in San Francisco many years ago, where I can't remember the platform that they were on, but they were pushed a major upgrade right around Christmas, and it had devastating effects for their revenue because nobody was able to utilize the software as efficiently as they had before. And so you're really kind of beholden to that one vendor and how they want to issue updates, upgrades. More substantively, you're really subject to the whims of that vendor regarding price increases. And so, you don't have as much leverage because they know they've got you. It's not going to be a simple scenario where you can say, okay, well, you've increased the price this year. My initial term has ended, and now the price increase is 20%. That's untenable for us. You try to negotiate it. They're not willing to negotiate with you. And you have a problem trying to get off of that system. It's not an easy thing to be able to fully replace the software and technology stack that runs your entire organization. It's not something you're going to be able to do on a dime. It's going to take time, and they really have an incentive to keep you as a customer. To really lock you in, to really limit the scope of your utilization of the data that you're putting into that system, so that they can then provide their own solutions, sell you more software, and you really become kind of beholden to this software vendor or this integrator, and I think that is fundamentally problematic. And so how do you mitigate that risk? And I think if you're going to mitigate that risk, you want to flip the script a little bit, and you want to make it a scenario where you really do have one throat to choke. You've got leverage with that vendor because maybe you're buying on a volume discount. You're engaging them on a regular basis. You have a relationship with them, and I think the way to take advantage of that is really to try to negotiate as many discounts as you possibly can. You want to discount, you want to negotiate rather, future discounts, future options. You want to negotiate price caps. You want to be able to take advantage of new releases. You want to have essentially all the flexibility that you would have as if you own that software, but it being a SaaS product or a cloud product. But that really is the goal. And I think if you're in that kind of one vendor dynamic where all of your eggs are in that one basket, I think it does provide some level of an opportunity to you to be able to try to manipulate that vendor to provide you with the best deals that are possible because of your heavy utilization of that software, especially if that relationship is going to continue on for many subsequent terms. I think it really does make sense to try to negotiate these price caps, these discounts, and these future options to really give you the flexibility that you need. And I think if you compare that to a multi-cloud environment where you've got multiple different vendors within your organization servicing you, you're never going to have as much leverage as you would, with one as you would if you were utilizing, one the group in their entirety. So, if you've got a one-off vendor that you spend a minimal amount of money, they're going to be less likely to give you concessions. Whereas if you've got, Oracle, SAP, Infor, Acumatica, whatever it is, and you're spending millions of dollars a year with that one particular vendor, it does create some leverage points that you're just not going to have in this other scenario. So I think there are ways and abilities to mitigate the risk of this. But it's in some ways it's a real dilemma, because I think there are advantages of being on this one platform environment. Everything is going to be integrated. Everything's going to talk to itself. Everything's going to work hopefully seamlessly. You don't have to manage the integrations and modifications and customizations of those disparate systems like you would in this multi-cloud environment. So I think there's benefit to that, but certainly the risk is, how are you going to get off of that system? You're at the whims of that vendor. If you've got to get your data out of there, you need to negotiate some ability to be able to do that in a clean and efficient way that's not going to cost you a lot of money, because I do think you give up, a certain amount of leverage by utilizing that one vendor and getting locked in like that. I hope you found this information useful. If you have any questions about anything in this video, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you. You can reach me at taflaw.com.